Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Sumi and I'm the owner and illustrator of the Mochi Cloud, and today I wanted to talk about all the planner covers or planner leather covers that I own. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, what I like about them and what I don't like about some of them. They're all from different brands and just wanted to give you my opinion, but whatever my opinion is, please do take it with a grain of salt. This is not a very true form way of comparing any of these leathers because they're all made with different processes. Most of them that I own right now are just vegetable tanned or veg tan full grain leathers. This one is a croc printed leather. So we're just, have a long chatty video about some of my thoughts about what I like about them and if I would even purchase any of them in the future. And before we get into it, I just want to thank each and every one of you who has been sticking around me and this little channel. We just hit a little over 1,000 subscribers a couple of weeks ago, and I am so appreciative of all of you who have been there and who have been with me on this journey. I think it's been a little over a year since I officially started, posting on YouTube. And I'm really happy with this little community that we've grown of all people who are enthusiastic about planners and stationery and paper, and I just wanted to thank every one of you. So without further ado, we're just going to get into it. Right now, lined up in front of me, I have a Gillio A5 Yale Blue. I have a VDS Black Croco. And over to the right here is my Hobonichi Going Merry Logbook. All of these are in A5, and I also have a Moterm Weeks cover, which is, the Veg Tan Weeks cover in the color caramel. So I think if I have to go by, the ones that I purchased first, I think the one that I purchased first was this Hobonichi cover last year. And I would say all of these covers have been with me for maybe close to a year. And I think this is like a good time to talk about each of them because it's been like a year since I've owned these covers. So we're just going to start, from the natural process of how I just started with my Hobonichi and move on to the rest. So if you don't know, this is the One Piece collaboration with Hobonichi, which was released last year. I believe they are continuing to produce this year as well, considering that One Piece is still, in its volume 2 Japanese manga classic collaboration with Hobonichi. But this was the one that they released last year. And it is the Going Merry Logbook in the size A5, which fits the Hobonichi cousin, and I have had this for a little over a year, and I would say this is probably one of my favorite leather covers that I own. It does not currently house my planner for 2023, and I will talk a little bit about it, but if I'm just going by the leather itself, if you see, it's pretty smooth. I would say this is calf leather. Probably not calf leather, but I have to check what exactly the leather is. But, it is pretty, it can pick up scratches, as you can see, right? There are like quite a bit of scratches, and it's already started patinaing a little bit. Like this sides you see here are quite shiny. And I do love the smell of this cover. Quick sniff test, by the way. It still has that lovely leather smell, but it's not too overpowering. And I feel like this is one of my, it's a very good cover. Like it has been stitched pretty well. It has been fixed together pretty well as well. I do see certain areas that could be better, but overall, like from a leather cover standpoint, this is like a good selection. And if you don't know, this is just, a button that they have created resembling Going Merry from the One Piece ship. This is pretty nice. Actually, I can see that a little bit of that cover that has, even this brass button, I think it's brass, has started patinaing a little bit. So overall, one of my favorite covers actually, but one of the reasons that I don't use this right now is because this cover itself takes a lot of space on my table. And I'm not somebody who writes like parallel to the table. It's like I cannot write like this. I need to turn the book to write like so, which is one of the reasons that I'm not currently in this cover. It's actually housing my 2022 Hobonichi cousin Avec, and I really love this cover. Like I said, the only fault that I can ever find about this cover is because, you know, since I have the A5, it is quite large, and with no fault to its own, it's just a little difficult for me to keep this on my table, which is why I'm not currently in this cover, because I don't have I don't have the ability to write where, you know, usually my keyboard actually sits right here. So I'll have to constantly keep moving this in order for me to write, and there's not enough space for me, which is one of the reasons I don't have this, with my 2023 planner. The inside, this section is leather itself. They have the little embossing over here. I would say the lining is not, it's definitely not leather. It is, it's kind of like that mesh kind of material that you would see, in typical planner linings, not exactly leather or pleather. And this is just, probably cloth. Overall, it's just a very wonderful cover. It's just, if you are someone who is not fond of scratching on your leathers, this might not be something for you, because this particular type of leather does pick up scratches, and even though it is quite smooth, you would notice a little bit of texture here and there. And I do see that this, the back has started patinaing a little bit more, probably because, it's been sitting on the table quite a bit, and, just scratching it, having this thing move around is usually what just gives that, that little shine that you see right here. So overall, one really nice cover. It is a little pricey. Well, not as pricey as some of the other ones that I own, but considering it's not a full leather, which is not, lining per se, but I would still say that the price that this holds is completely worth its value, because there's a lot that has gone into the craftsmanship, and the craftsmanship is not just leather and its quality. Being able to have this little thing right here, I think the entire beauty of the cover is having this map right behind it. So I would say it is still worth the money that I paid. And I know this is a difficult item to come by. I'm not sure if it's still in stock. It should be still in stock, because they did stock it up for, the volume 2 release of the One Piece collaboration, which, if I did not own this cover, I would have probably picked up the natural leather one that they have come out this time about, the Thousand Sunny ship. But since I had the A5 version of the Going Merry, and since I'm not using it because of, the table being way too small for me, I did not pick that one up this time. And I'm okay with that. It's not that I really wanted it anyway. So I'm really happy that I own this one, but this was actually my first leather cover. I do have a traveler's notebook, which I'm not using at all. So I'm not even counting that as my first leather. For some reason, I'm not able to bond with that traveler's notebook at all. So I plan to sell it soon. So I would say the Hobonichi A5 Going Merry, one of my favorite covers. It still has a very nice, delicious smell. It does scratch up a little bit, and I do see that sometimes the stitching right here, it's a little wonky, but it's still nothing too much. So overall, I really love this one, and I don't own any other Hobonichi leather covers. So let me know if you have other covers. I know that the taut version that they had was a very popular cover this year. I think even the water green from this year's release, meaning the 2024 release. I know that they also did one of the week's covers to be a leather cover, which was it olive? So I don't have any other covers which are leather from Hobonichi. So I do know that their leather is pretty nice. It's not that you're not getting what you paid for, basically. So all in all, I really love this cover. So the next cover that I have, and this was actually my second purchase, and I believe this was a couple of months after I purchased the Hobonichi cover last year. This is a Gillio A5 Apoca Yale Blue in the A5 Compagna. And this currently has my work planner, so I will not be doing a flip just yet. If you do want to see my A5, work planner set up, let me know. I do plan to do it sometime later this year, but at the moment it's just sitting here as it is, because since it has sensitive information, I don't share much of it on my social media platform. So either ways, from a leather perspective, now if you don't know, Gillio is a Belgian brand that makes leather planner cover accessories. I know they also have other items apart from planner covers, but this is their bread and butter. And this particular color that you see is their Yale Blue, which is a very nice steel blue, I would say. Like, it's not particularly warm and it's not exactly cold either, for that matter. It's not a cool tone either. It's just a very neutral steel blue, I would say. And this is one of my favorite colors from the Gillio lineup, apart from their neutral collection. And one of the things that I do notice about the Yale Blue, now that I've had it for a little over a year, and before I get into that, this was actually a personal good deal item. So Gillio usually has like a first quality, a personal good deal, and a good deal section. So this is something that has flaws in it when I did purchase. But in my opinion, I don't think that this should be sold as a personal good deal. It should be sold as a good deal, because with my naked eye, I can see quite a lot of imperfections on this planner cover that should ideally not have even made it to a personal good deal. So right here, this scratch that you see right here is something that was there right when I picked it up. And I can also see, and this is maybe a Yale Blue problem rather than a Gillio color problem, Gillio leather problem. This Yale Blue actually picks up a lot of, or it has a lot of black dots that keep appearing here and there. Like, you can see that right over there. On the back, it's also quite visible. I'm not sure what this is. This may be like a natural variation in the leather itself. I also see that these edges, they just have these black lines that start picking up. And I don't use this much, This actually stays in my drawer, and I just use this occasionally. It does not leave my house, and it actually does not even leave my desk. When I want to plan in it, I would just take it out and hardly use it for not even more than 5 minutes. Now, Gillio has generally getting a restock. If you really like a leather color or a leather type planner from Gillio, you're gonna have a tough time getting your hands on it, because they do not produce it based on the orders that come in. They just get like a definitive set of planner covers every week, and we don't even know what model is gonna get released in a particular week. So all in all, you know, that uncertainty of having to know or find out what your favorite leather is and what kind of size you want, even if you know that a couple of weeks ahead, it's going to be difficult for you to kind of get your hands on some of these Gillio covers because they do not always have things in stock, and you would never even know when they're going to restock it. The Epoca leather itself, it smells delicious. I think this is the best smelling leather that I have. It feels pretty good. I also, when I purchased this, I did order for a smoother texture. So I think this is as smooth as they could give me. But yeah, it still has a little bit of wanes, which I'm still okay with as long as, you know, the planner itself is not pebbly. So overall, I do really love this planner, but the things that you will notice after you have used your Gillio a little bit is, you know, that dot that keeps appearing because this clasp is not padded. And I don't think you can actually notice much of it in mine because, as I've mentioned, I don't use this as much, and I try to avoid, you know, picking or putting my finger, you know, with pressure in there. The stitching is pretty okay. I don't see any fault in it. It does have your standard square corners. It does, you know, bend in, which is not the fault of the planner in any sense. I do feel like one of my rings is not actually very tight. This one right here. I don't know what to do with it. Maybe I'll have to, I'm not very sure. If you have any idea on how to make this a little bit more closer, you know, it's only this particular one that has a problem. The rest don't actually have any problem at all. So I do have the gold rings in here, gold 30 Krause rings. And the lining of this is, I don't know if this is leather, but it's definitely not that, you know, mesh cloth kind of a situation. So Gillio typically comes with that big back pocket, the two secretarial flaps right here, and of course, you know, their standard layout. I know that in their medium Compagna, the zip is on this side, which is another thing that I'm not very sure about because I don't think there is too much consistency between their layouts. So the A5 has the zip here, versus the medium and the medium XL Compagnas, which is the personal size, has their zips here. All in all, I do love this planner cover. It's just, it was an expensive buy. And for the money that I paid, I probably will not be purchasing another Gillio again because things that I really want are never in stock. And I don't mind playing the fastest fingers game as long as I know ahead of time that I know what's being stocked. And not every week. Like, I know that they have their their Facebook Live every Monday, but I don't have the time to keep up every week with, you know, what's getting stocked. And I try to put the things that I really want in the request list, but I never get those emails for some reason, or the emails that I get it after it has been stocked. So, you know, just because of that, I feel like I probably will not pay this kind of money to buy a Gillio again, but I absolutely do love the Gillio cover, the smell, the craftsmanship. It is amazing. But, you know, it's just that times when I do have the money to purchase something that I really want, I would like to make the purchase at least within a week, and not wait around. So, because that's how it is for me. So all in all, I do love the cover. I'm not very sure if I will purchase another Gillio again, or even if I do, I'll probably have to get some secondhand in the marketplace, which is a big market again. But yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to go. So this was my second cover. It was an A5 Compagna. You do know that I'm an A5 girl by now if you've seen all of this, but it does have the standard, you know, silver popper, but I did request for the gold rings when this came through. And let me tell you, this as a work planner is pretty efficient. I don't take this out of the house. So there's that, but you know that's how it is. And I do feel this particular, you know, pen loop is pretty small and it's hard to fit anything in there. Now, which is why that I've just have this as a clip. Well, I've just clipped it like so, and it's still fine. I really love the leather. I do love the setup that I have going on in here, which I will probably show you in another video. But yeah, amazing leather, amazing craftsmanship. Will I buy it again? Probably not. Because if I am spending that much money, I would rather, you know, buy something that I'm sure is going to tick all the boxes. So yeah, that one's the A5 Compagna from Gillio A5 Yale Blue. All right, so the next one that we have is my workforce. I don't know what to say about this. This is probably like the most sturdiest cover that I've ever owned. Basically, you can throw this anywhere and it's going to remain intact. That's what this is. It's a VDS Black Croco A5 Codex. This was a custom, and if you do know Vanderspec, the brand, and Petra, who runs the company, they are a fully handmade company. So while they do have some things that are ready-made to be shipped, most of their items like the A5 or the Codex, which are basically covers that you can insert your books into, or even the ring covers, the ring planners that, you know, just like the A5 Compagna that you can have where you can put your inserts in, they are all custom made. So you have to go into their site. There are a bunch of customizations that you can request and a bunch of leathers that you can request your planner be made in. And basically it takes them quite a bit to produce the actual leather and get it, the actual planner, and get it to you. But you would know for certain that at the end of that, you would definitely get what you really requested for. So it's a very custom, handmade experience, and Petra is amazing to work with. And this is something that this particular A5 Codex, you know, the way I went about this was I was really wanting a cover for my Hobonichi cousin with, you know, the black croc pattern. And my first, you know, the first company that I wanted to get it from was actually the Gillio. So the Gillio has, you know, a similar line of, they call it a punto, which is meant for covers or books like the Hobonichi that you can insert into the planner cover. And I really did like the Gillio black matte croc a punto, but they're never in stock and it's difficult to get your hands on one of those. So while I was looking at other options, I did find Filofax and VDS, and I really did like the way VDS had their patterns, which is why I requested for, I put in an order last year, and it took me around 11 weeks from the time that I made the order to actually get it in my hand. And that was their standard time last year. I think that has been reduced this year. I think it's either 4 or 5 weeks now if you plan to purchase a VDS cover, and that's their regular time from, you know, the time you place the order to the time of production and shipment that you would get your planner cover. Now, the VDS, this particular cover, this is why I said take everything that I say with a grain of salt, because this is not very comparable to the Apoca leather. If I had to compare apples to apples, I would have probably had something like a Janet Leather Brown or a Janet Leather Undyed to compare with the Apoca. I love the Janet Leather Brown, by the way, and I've been wanting one, but right now I'm not going to get another planner cover. So this is what we have to compare with. Right off the bat, I will say that the craftsmanship of VDS is the bar. Like, you cannot get a Gillio or a Moterm, which I will show you in a bit, or even a Hobonichi to compare with the kind of craftsmanship that VDS has. Some of the very little things that, you know, make so much difference. Like, for example, they do pad their clasps, so you would never get that kind of a dot situation that you would see in a Gillio on a Vanderspec. And if you look at this, you know, the patterns, the way that the clasp actually comes over, it's a really proper continuation of this planner, you know, of this line right here. And this is their standard way of getting a pattern in, you know, in Vanderspec. You can request for the kind of patterns that you want. So I specifically requested for having the smaller, you know, the scales on the spine, but also having the smaller scales curve out to the outside. So this pattern is something that I specifically requested. While you can request that in Gillio, usually your smaller scales would end somewhere right here, and it would not have this kind of a, you see how it's, if I were to open this, let's try to take this out, or maybe I can do it without even taking it out. So, or let's try to make this a little bit more flat. Oops, there goes my Inuyasha pencil board, which I absolutely love. So you see how this goes outside like so. This is a pattern that I requested. So generally, I've noticed when you have smaller scales, like on the Gillio Punto, when you request it, it just goes right here and it stops, and then you have the larger scales come out. I requested for something to be like a little bit more curved. And, you know, Petra delivers, and it's amazing the way that it looks, even though I would not have it open like so. This is like a very small request. Well, it's not a small request, it's quite a big request, and it might not be very noticeable to people who are not specifically looking for it. And I absolutely love the way that these scales look, you know, together. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about Vanderspec. You can request patterns, you can request the type of leather you want, whether it be smooth, pebbly, textured, with veins, or one of my favorite combinations, and if I ever purchase a Vanderspec again, maybe a Janet leather brown, is I would love to have a smooth pattern with veins on them, which is a little difficult to maybe procure, but I'm hoping I could get my hands on something like that. Yeah, so let's look at, you know, the layout of the Vanderspec. So not just the layout, and I do feel like the stitching is perfect. It is not as close to the stitching as you might see in a Gillio. And right off the bat, their standard layout for a Vanderspec is to have these curved corners, not exactly a square corner or like a sharp corner. This is a round corner. So it has the, you know, the leather that's, you know, folded inside and glued. And I will say that, you know, the lining, so this lining, I don't know whether this is leather, but I feel like it might be, I don't know if this is leather. It's definitely not PU. So everything that has stitching within the Vanderspec is full leather. They do have their little brand right here. And of course, this is a standard, I believe this is a Nomad layout with, you know, the pockets facing outside. And you have like your standard pen loop here. And of course, I did not request for an extra pen loop because I don't like it, but I do keep like 2 of my pens right here. And since this is a black croco, you would not notice the, you know, having a pen sitting right here would actually dig into the leather, and you will notice it pretty, there will be like a proper dent here. I don't care about that. You can actually see it a little bit here. This side is a little bit more shiny than the rest. And I can also show you like there's a little bit of patina that has started forming here where this is more shinier than the rest. It's not very noticeable in the black croc because, you know, it is like a very heavy duty leather that's just not going to do anything. You would not necessarily notice patina much. And I don't mind that. I do like patina, but this was something that I was specifically requesting for. So overall, the Vanderspec, again, it is expensive. I had to specifically request for the big back pocket, and the big back pocket is an extra customization. So that does cost more money than their standard layout. Whereas in the Gillio, you would have the big pocket added by default. But there are certain things that I feel like Vanderspec does much, much better. So in the Vanderspec standard layout, their pen loop is sitting right next to the clasp, and it is hidden when you close the actual planner. Now, I don't know whether this was a proper executive decision or not. The Gillio Compagnas, which are the ones with the rings installed in, have a similar mechanism of having the pen loop sitting next to the clasp, which I like. But in their Apunto versions, they have their pen loops that are actually sitting right here. So when you close the planner, you actually see a pen loop jutting out. And if you're not putting a pen there, it just looks, in my opinion, I don't like that kind of layout very much, which I will talk about in a bit because I have a Moterm that has a similar problem. Which is why I like the standard layouts of the VDS a lot better. Even if you don't have or add a lot of customizations, this is more than enough for, you know, when you are spending that much money in the first place, you can get standard layouts, which in my opinion, like I like having the pen loop on this side. I know that sometimes you don't want the pen loop here because it starts hitting your planner. For example, right, I have this A5 booklet that I keep right next to it, which actually does hit this pen loop. I'm not bothered by it much. My Hobonichi cousin doesn't do that because it sits right there and I don't think it ever hits the pen loop. So I'm fine with this. I actually like this layout a lot better. And of course, the stitching is perfect. The layout is perfect. And the thing about Vanderspec is if you are spending that much money, maybe it's a little more pricier than the Gillio, but you will make sure, like having this is something that you know for sure that you're going to love. I do see a lot of, planners that get sold in their buy-sell trade groups, especially for the Gillio. Like I see a lot of planners getting sold there. You know, not much Vanderspecs go through that same process. I feel like I see a lot less Vanderspecs, sold in the buy-sell trade groups as compared to Gillios. So I feel like would I purchase another VDS again? If I have the money to spend on it, absolutely yes. I would 100% prefer a VDS over a Gillio, knowing that, there are things that I don't like about the Gillio, and knowing that there are certain customizations that I really like in the Gillio, like the square corners and the big back pocket that get added on itself. I feel like the layouts of the Gillio are much better, but I feel that I would rather spend the money on a Vanderspec, adding those customizations, because here's the other thing, right? The Moterm, I feel like the Moterm has really knocked Gillio out of the playing field for me. I love the smell of the Gillio. Let's be very real. And let's talk the Moterm right now. I love the smell of the Gillio. I don't have an A5 Moterm, but when Moterm released their vegetable tanned full grain leather line, I was like, this is very similar to Gillio. Let's be very real. I feel like I can spend very less on a Moterm. They might not smell the same, and there are certain things about the Moterm that I don't like. For example, the lining here is that mesh cloth line, which I'm not a fan of at all. So you can see this, but I can really work with it. I mean, I can really still work with that particular issue rather than spending so much on a Gillio. Now, this particular week's cover, this is something that I actually purchased in order for it to be like a travel wallet. And I took this with me when I was traveling. It did have the Hobonichi one piece, what was it, to the Grand Line? I think that's what this is. Was it to the Grand Line? I believe it's to the Grand Line. Yeah, that's the name of that cover. But I feel like this particular Moterm Vegetable Tan line, quick sniff test, it doesn't smell as strong as the Gillio A5. So I love the Gillio A5 smell. This does not have that much of a strong smell, but it does have a leather smell. And I really, really love the way that they've done this. There are flaws, let me tell you. So right off the bat, this corner that you see right here has a way where they have stitched it over the leather, but that's not here on this corner, which is kind of funny. I'm not sure why that is, but it's very small to actually even notice it. But I did notice it in the beginning. It does not bother me at all now. And there are things about this layout that I don't like, but I'm okay with taking them off. So for example, the Moterm standard covers that, you know, fit a notebook. So in the same vein as the Appunto, we have these covers that fit, you know, the Hobonichi Weeks or the Hobonichi Cousin, your A6, usually come with 2 bookmarks, which I don't like. I don't like that in the Appunto line either. You would have noticed that my A5 Codex from VDS does not have that. I think there are options to add it, but that is something that I don't like at all. So I purposefully removed it. I cut it off. And there used to be a pen loop here with the same problem that I explained earlier that would have occurred in the Appunto line as well. I do not like it when a planner has like a, you know, that thing jutting out here. It kind of makes me feel weird for some reason. It's just an aesthetic problem. I would rather have, you know, my pens sitting with my large pen case, and this just sits right next to me, so I can pull out whatever pen I need and use it. So I'm not a fan of the pen loop up top, which faces outside. I know that there is a specific reason why it's kept there, so that it doesn't hit your book and cause damage to the book, but I really don't like the feel of having that pen loop here. So on the Moterm, what I did was I just took an X-Acto knife and cut out the stitching from here, and it was pretty easy to take it out. And knowing that I can do that, you know, on the Moterm, because while this was not a cheap cover, but it's still very, very much affordable, like unlike the Gillio. If I had a Gillio Appunto and it had that, you know, the pen loop here, I would not have messed with it. Even though, you know, it's there. I would always think, oh, maybe I can sell it someday, whatever. And I feel like having the Moterm is something that kind of settles my mind in a way, for lack of a better term. I feel like having the Moterm makes me not want to have a Gillio, because I feel like I can still take off things that I don't like about the Moterm as opposed to a Gillio, because I would have spent a lot of money on that. So this is the caramel version. I did not ask for anything. That's the other thing about Moterm. You cannot request specific kind of leathers per se. I'm a smooth leather person. The smoother the leather, I really like it. I don't mind having these kind of wanes either, so I wouldn't say this is completely smooth, but this is okay for me. I do feel like this has picked up a lot of scratches from my trip, which I really love. I love this color. I love the imperfections that show on this particular cover. I also don't baby my planners in any way. None of the planners that you just saw have been babied. I also will say, let me take this off for a bit, that when I did receive this, there were certain things that I felt were imperfections, but I cannot even find them anymore. Like these are probably just marks that came through, you know, the regular wear and tear. There's one here. The corners are always a little fuzzy. It's not completely, you know, I'm not sure if you can see, but these are some things that, you know, things are that are gonna happen when you own a cover like this. It's gonna happen with a Janet Leather Brown from VDS or even a Gillio Rust. It's going to pick up some wear and tear. So you can see right here in this corner where, you know, the clasp closes, you can see that these are a little bit more darker. And I'm perfectly fine with it. I really like seeing all of those. And I feel like having a Moterm do that, because I really don't like their lychee line, which is just standard pebbles, which does not even have a leather smell. They do have like a very plasticky smell. So I really like the Moterm. Will I buy another Moterm again? Absolutely. I feel like this is also something that would help me test out a size that I'm not used to. So if I'm trying to test out a ring size that I'm not used to, I wouldn't directly go and purchase a Vanderspec, which is probably what I would have done earlier. I would have to wait for a long time to be able to afford it and then go and purchase it. But having the Moterm is, you know, that gateway for me to get to a Vanderspec, I feel, if I really, really want it. And honestly, you don't even need that kind of a gateway with the craftsmanship of the Moterm. I feel that they have done a really good job. So I absolutely love this too. This also, like, so the Moterm clasp also is not padded. So these are some of the things that, you know, you will feel as you get more accustomed to the planner community and the products in the planner community. You will start seeing these discrepancies. This is also not padded, which means ultimately some more patina is going to show up here, which probably you can already see. You can see some stuff here, but you won't find that on the VDS. There are things that, you know, this is actually very scratchy. So there you go. I just made a scratch right there. Can you see that? You can rub it off, I think, but it's something to think about. I do love the Moterm cover. I know this video is going to be like 40 minutes long, but this is just me rambling about my leather covers, and I'm, you know, I hope you have liked it so far. But so far, I will repurchase a Moterm. Like, you know, like I said, this is a gateway for me to get into a VDS, especially if I'm not familiar with that size. And while I'm not a very big fan of certain things about the Moterm, as the same way I'm not a big fan of the Gillio, I am able to, you know, alter it, take it off, or cut it out, or do planner surgery, because I feel much more comfortable doing it on a Moterm than on a Gillio. So closing thoughts. If I ever had to buy leather covers again from the ones that I've already purchased, so this is not things that I haven't tried yet, but the ones that I've already purchased, I will definitely repurchase a Moterm. I will definitely repurchase a VDS. Might not be soon enough because I won't be able to afford it immediately, and I'm okay with that. I'm willing to wait. But I'm not very much willing to play the game of looking at stocks every week, figuring out if the one that I want is in that stock or not, and constantly being in that feel of chaos which is why I'm not gravitating that much to repurchasing a Gillio. If I find something like unicorns in a Facebook marketplace, I might repurchase it. And that's the other thing about Gillio though. Like there are certain covers, like the vintage, well, this is not the vintage gray, but this is the gray croco matte from the yesteryears, like probably older than 2018. Those are the things that really I want to get my hands on, but it's really difficult to find them unless somebody from, somebody who has owned it is willing to sell it. So that's one of the reasons that I probably might stay away from directly purchasing from the Gillio website. And the Hobonichi, I love the Hobonichi cover. It's just that this one is way too big. I know one of my followers actually takes out their planner from the cover and then uses it separately and then puts it back into the A5 Going Merry. And that is actually a very good idea, which I might try out because I do want to get back into this cover because it smells great. I absolutely love One Piece and I would really like to use it again. So that is about the Hobonichi. So that's pretty much it for this video. I think this is going to be really long and apparently I hope you have reached this far. If not, that's okay as well. Let me know what your favorite leather covers are, if you even use leather covers. What are you willing to spend your money on versus what are you willing to not spend? Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.